You think you know California? Beaches, palm trees, freeways, maybe a movie star or two. But what if I told you the real stars here have feathers? From red deserts to fog-soaked forests, California hides a cast of birds so stunning, so bizarre, you'll wonder how they've stayed out of the spotlight. We're talking about hunters that dive like missiles, songbirds dressed like rainbows, and owls that fly through the night without making a sound. Each one is a piece of the state's soul. A reminder that beauty doesn't just live in Hollywood. It nests in backyards, cliffs, marshes, and quiet corners of the Pacific coast. But here's the question. Why do the most beautiful creatures always seem to hide right in front of us? Is it camouflage? Or are we just not paying attention anymore? So today we're going looking across canyons, redwoods, and endless skies to uncover 20 breathtaking species that prove California's wild side might just outshine its cities. Get ready, because once you've seen these wings, you'll never look at California the same way again. You think California's symbol would be something big, a bear, an eagle, something that roars. But no, it's this little bird with a fancy top knot and the confidence of a rock star. Meet the California quail, the state bird, the neighborhood comedian, and the tiny heartbeat of the West. You'll spot them strutting across trails, tails bobbing, heads tilted, like they're late for an appointment they scheduled themselves. Their call, that funny Chicago, echoes through hills and backyards alike, as if the whole state were laughing with them. But don't mistake cute for clueless. Here's the twist. This bird runs its world like a well-oiled democracy. California quails live in groups called coveys, up to 40 strong, moving as one, feeding, warning, and protecting each other. There's always a lookout on guard, scanning for danger while the others eat. It's teamwork disguised as chaos. And when danger strikes, hawk, cat, or human, they explode in every direction at once, confusing the predator. Panic? Nope. That's choreography. Fun fact, quail chicks can run the moment they hatch, keeping pace with their parents before they can even fly. It's nature's version of California hustle. But here's what's beautiful. Even in cities, they never left. Among cars, lawns, and noise, they still march proudly. Tiny survivors in a state that never stops changing. A reminder that wild doesn't mean distant. It's right under our feet. So tell me, if this little bird can thrive between highways and hillsides, what's our excuse for not adapting too? Because the California quail doesn't care about fame or fortune. It just keeps showing up. Bright-eyed, loud, unbothered. Proving that true California spirit doesn't live on a red carpet. It lives in the brush, calling out, Chicago. You think happiness can't fly? Then you've never met the western bluebird, a little burst of sky that decided to grow a heartbeat. When sunlight hits its feathers, the blue glows electric. Not paint, not pigment, just light bending through perfect design. Its chest blazes rusty orange, like a sunset following it everywhere it goes. It's simple, small, and impossibly cheerful. The kind of bird that turns a quiet morning into a story. But here's the twist. This tiny optimist used to almost disappear. As old trees vanished and nesting sites grew scarce, the bluebird song started to fade across California's valleys. People missed it, not because it was rare, but because it was home. Then something amazing happened. Communities began building bluebird boxes, tiny wooden homes nailed to fences and trails. And one by one, the bluebirds came back. No politics, no headlines, just people helping a piece of sky return to Earth. Fun fact, western bluebirds don't just raise their own young. Older siblings sometimes help feed their parents' new chicks. Family, teamwork, and second chances, all wrapped in feathers. Now you'll see them perched on power lines, flicking from fence post to field, scanning for insects, calm, curious, and somehow always smiling, like they know something we forgot. So here's your question. If a creature this small can bring joy just by existing, what's stopping us from doing the same? Because the western bluebird doesn't try to be special. It just is. And maybe that's the secret. The truest beauty in California isn't the kind that demands attention. It's the kind that quietly brings the light back. You think you need an alarm clock? Not if there's a robin outside your window. Before the sun even touches the hills, the American robin is already singing. A clear, rising melody that feels like dawn itself has a soundtrack. It's not just another bird call. It's the sound of beginning again. With its brick red chest and bright, curious eyes, the robin is a classic. The bird every kid in America recognizes without even trying. Simple, common, everywhere. And maybe that's what makes it magic. Here's the twist. While we treat the robin as ordinary, it's anything but. This bird migrates hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles, chasing spring as it climbs north. Its arrival marks the turning of seasons, the end of cold, the quiet announcement that life always circles back. They're bold too. Robins hop through gardens like they own them, pulling worms from the soil with surgical precision. One moment they're suburban neighbors, the next they're wild wanderers, a bridge between our world and theirs. Fun fact, a robin's eggs are that famous blue, robin's egg blue, so iconic that painters, jewelers, and designers borrowed it to define calm itself. Imagine being so timeless that your color becomes a human emotion. But here's what most people miss. Robins don't sing for us. They sing to claim the morning, to tell the world, I survived the night. That's not routine, that's resilience. So here's your question. When was the last time you celebrated simply waking up? Because the robin never forgets. Every song is a victory. Every sunrise is enough. And maybe that's the real lesson hiding in California's backyards. That sometimes the most beautiful voices belong to the ones we stop noticing. You think city birds are boring? The black phoebe would like a word. Perched on a fence post or the edge of a fountain, this little black and white flycatcher is California's version of cool. Calm, sharp, and always ready for action. It flicks its tail, waits for the perfect moment, then darts into the air, snatching insects mid-flight like a stunt pilot who doesn't believe in mistakes. If birds had swagger, this one would own the trademark. Its crisp tuxedo plumage makes it look like it's late for a red carpet event. But don't let the style fool you. The phoebe's a worker. It spends its days hunting nonstop, keeping the air clear of mosquitoes and flies. Every move is quick, efficient, deliberate. It doesn't waste energy or opportunities. Here's the twist. While most songbirds migrate, the black phoebe stays put. Rain or shine, city or wilderness. It makes California home all year long. It's the kind of bird that thrives by committing to its patch of sky. Fun fact, phoebes use mud to build their nests, plastering them under bridges, eaves, and even porch lights. They don't ask for wilderness. They adapt to ours. That's not luck. That's intelligence. Watch one for long enough and you'll see the rhythm of California life in miniature. Quick, stylish, independent, and a little bit fearless. So here's the question. In a world obsessed with moving somewhere better, what if the smartest thing you can do is stay? Because the black phoebe doesn't dream of somewhere else. It builds right here. And maybe that's the secret. Real freedom isn't running. It's owning your space, your light, your flight path. You think humans invented neighborhoods? The acorn woodpecker would like to laugh at that. This bird doesn't just live in the forest, it builds one inside the trees. Each family drills thousands of holes into a single oak trunk, stuffing everyone with an acorn. From a distance, it looks like the tree has broken out in freckles. Up close, it's a skyscraper of snacks. These woodpeckers live in big clans, parents, siblings, cousins, even distant relatives, all working together to defend their granary tree. It's noisy, chaotic, and incredibly organized at the same time. Think of it as the world's loudest homeowners association. Here's the twist. They don't eat the acorns right away. They store them for the dry season, turning the tree into a living pantry. Every hole is perfectly sized, too tight for other animals to steal from, but just right for their beaks. It's precision engineering, bird style. Fun fact, researchers have found granary trees packed with up to 50,000 acorns. That's decades of work, passed down through generations. Imagine building something so well that your great-grandchildren still use it. And just like California itself, these birds know the value of real estate. They defend their storage trees fiercely, screaming, "Waka waka," whenever intruders come close. It's part warning, part attitude. But here's what's incredible. Within all that noise and competition, they cooperate. They share duties, raise chicks together, and balance chaos with loyalty. It's messy, but it works. So here's your question. Is survival about strength or teamwork? Because the acorn woodpecker already knows the answer. It thrives not by going solo, but by building together, literally. And maybe that's the lesson hiding in every oak grove, that even in nature's wildest corners, community is still the smartest design. You think you need size to stand out? Tell that to the black-capped chickadee, a bird that weighs less than a nickel and still runs the forest like it owns the place. It's one of California's tiniest songbirds, yet somehow the boldest. It hops right up to humans, stares you dead in the eye, and chirps its own name. Chickadee-dee-dee, as if it's making introductions. No fear, no hesitation, just personality packed into half an ounce of feathers. But here's the twist. Behind that cute face is one of nature's sharpest memories. Chickadees can remember thousands of hiding spots for their food. Every seed, every crack in the bark. And each winter, their brain actually grows to improve memory, then shrinks again in spring when they don't need it. Imagine if we could upgrade our minds every season like that. They're also social masterminds. Chickadees form flocks with strict hierarchies. Who leads, who follows, who gets first pick of food. And the DDD call? It's not random chatter, it's a coded language. More Ds mean more danger. Essentially, it's the bird world's version of texting in all caps. Fun fact, Studies show chickadees recognize individual human faces. They remember who fed them and who tried to chase them off. Hold a grudge long enough, and they might just gossip about you to the rest of the forest. They're proof that intelligence isn't about muscle or majesty, it's about awareness. They adapt, learn, and thrive in every season. They don't fly away from winter. They face it head on. So here's the question. If something this small can outthink a storm, what's really holding the rest of us back? Because the black-capped chickadee doesn't worry about size, fame, or fear. It wakes up, sings its name, and gets to work. Tiny, tough, unforgettable. The forest doesn't ignore it. It listens. You think fishing is quiet? Tell that to the belted kingfisher, the bird that hunts like a jet and brags like it just won the Super Bowl. You'll hear it before you see it, a rattling ch-ch-ch echoing over the river. Then a flash of blue-gray and white cuts through the air like a stone from a slingshot. It hovers midair, wings beating hard, eyes locked on the water below. And then, boom, a perfect dive. Splash, catch, victory. It's not hunting, it's performing. Here's the twist. The females are flashier than the males. Rare in the bird world. She wears an extra rust-colored belt across her chest, as if nature wanted to remind everyone who's really in charge. And when she's nesting, she digs a tunnel into a riverbank up to 8 feet deep. No builder, no backup, just grit and beak. Fun fact, kingfishers can see clearly both in air and underwater. Their eyes adjust instantly as they dive. They even have a built-in pair of goggles, a special membrane that shields them from impact. It's nature's ultimate action camera. But it's not all glory. Kingfishers live on the edge, literally. If the river floods, their burrows collapse. If fish disappear, so do they. They depend completely on clean water, which means every polluted stream is one less voice echoing through the canyon. Still, when you see one perched on a branch above the rapids, crest raised, eyes fierce, you can feel it. That mix of swagger and purpose. Like a small creature daring the world to challenge it. So here's the question. Would you rather live safe or dive headfirst and make a splash? Because the belted kingfisher doesn't whisper. It rattles, dives, and dominates. A reminder that sometimes the loudest thing in nature isn't noise, it's confidence. You think strength always moves fast? Watch the great blue heron and think again. It stands motionless by the water's edge, tall as a child, calm as a monk. No noise, no hurry, just focus. Its blue-gray feathers blend with mist and reeds, a ghost made of patience. For minutes, sometimes hours, as it waits, frozen in place, every muscle still except the slow blink of its yellow eyes. Then with lightning speed, the heron strikes. One clean stab, one perfect catch. Dinner served in silence. This is the art of stillness, a hunter who wins by waiting. Here's the twist. The great blue heron isn't really blue. Its color shifts with the light. Steel gray at dawn, ocean blue at dusk. It's whatever the day needs it to be. Maybe that's the secret of its grace. It adapts without losing itself. Fun fact, herons have a special neck bone that lets them fold their neck into an S shape before striking, like a spring coiled in silence. It's engineering disguised as poetry. They nest high in trees, balancing on branches that shouldn't hold them, raising chicks in colonies called heronries. From below, it looks like the clouds themselves are alive. But as wetlands vanish, so do they. Every drained marsh, every polluted stream steals another stage from this ancient performer. It's a slow disappearance, quiet like everything else they do. And yet, even now, you'll find them. Standing in the shallows at sunrise, mist curling around their legs, still believing in patience. So here's your question. Could you wait that long for what you want? Without moving? Without noise? Without fear? Because the great blue heron can. It doesn't chase, it trusts. And maybe that's real strength. Not motion, but mastery over stillness. You think precision belongs to machines? Then you've never seen an osprey dive. High above the ocean cliffs or mountain lakes, it hovers. Wings wide, head perfectly still, eyes locked on the water far below. For a heartbeat, it's pure stillness. Then, a flash. It folds its wings, drops like a spear, and hits the surface at 50 miles per hour. A second later, it rises again. Claws gripping a wriggling fish, droplets scattering like sparks. It doesn't hunt, it executes. This is the sea eagle, nature's original drone strike. Here's the twist. Ospreys are found on every continent except Antarctica. They're global citizens of precision, using the same ancient technique everywhere, from California's coast to the Amazon Delta. Every dive is mathematics. Every strike a test of faith in timing and instinct. And they're surprisingly gentle, at least with each other. Ospreys mate for life, returning to the same nest year after year, adding new sticks until it becomes a fortress. Some nests weigh hundreds of pounds, homes passed down like heirlooms. Even their wildness has memory. Fun fact, an osprey's feet are double jointed, allowing it to rotate one talon backward. That gives it a perfect grip on slippery fish. 2 toes forward, 2 back. The natural blueprint for balance and control. But control has its cost. Ospreys rely completely on clean water. Every poisoned river, every lost fish population cuts a link in their survival chain. They're hunters, yes, but they're also messengers, telling us exactly how healthy our waters still are. So here's your question. If perfection demanded total risk, every dive, all or nothing, would you take it? Because the osprey doesn't hesitate. It dives headfirst, blind to failure, loyal only to instinct. And when it rises from the waves, wings blazing in the sun, you understand, this isn't just a bird catching a meal. It's the ocean applauding its favorite student. You think forests are peaceful? Tell that to the red-shouldered hawk, the bird that patrols them like it owns the sky. Its call, sharp, rising, almost human, cuts through the trees like a warning siren. To some, it sounds like anger. To others, authority. Either way, it gets respect. With russet shoulders, checkered wings, and eyes the color of wildfire, this hawk doesn't blend in. It glows. Perched high on a branch, it waits, motionless, until the moment explodes. One beat of those broad wings, one precise dive, and the forest's calm is broken. A snake, a mouse, a frog, gone in a heartbeat. Here's the twist. Despite its fierceness, the red-shouldered hawk is a loyal neighbor. It returns to the same territory year after year, often nesting in the same tree. And if you've ever heard one screaming above your backyard, it's not random. It's protecting what's his. Territory isn't aggression, it's commitment. Fun fact, red-shouldered hawks are among the most vocal raptors in North America. They even communicate with mates mid-flight, calling out across the canopy like dueling violins. Love songs, hawk style. But life in California's forests isn't easy. Development eats into their hunting grounds, and every lost oak means one less home. Yet still, they adapt, nesting near suburbs, rivers, and city parks, proving that wildness doesn't retreat, it evolves. So here's your question. If defending what's yours means standing alone, do you still shout or stay silent? Because the red-shouldered hawk never stays quiet. It screams, so the forest remembers who's watching. Not out of fear, but pride. A flash of red and gold in the trees, a living flare that says, this is my sky, my ground, my fight. You think freedom sounds like guitars and engines? Number. It sounds like this, the scream of a red-tailed hawk echoing across a canyon. It's the sound Hollywood borrows every time they need to say wild, even the bald eagle in movies gets dubbed with this hawk's voice. That's how iconic it is. Soaring high over California's deserts and grasslands, the red-tailed hawk rides invisible rivers of air, barely moving its wings. It doesn't flap. It owns the wind. From hundreds of feet up, those amber eyes can spot a mouse in the dust. And when it dives, it falls like gravity forgot to warn the ground. Its tail, broad, brick red, glowing in sunlight, is the flag of the open sky. Every flicker of it is power, confidence, and perfect control. Here's the twist. These hawks aren't just hunters. They're teachers. Young ones spend months learning from their parents. Not through words, but through mimicry. Every flight is a lesson in precision. Every mistake, a crash course in humility. Fun fact, red-tailed hawks mate for life. They build massive stick nests on cliffs or tall pines, sometimes reusing them for decades. When one partner dies, the other often returns to the same perch, waiting. In the wild, even loyalty becomes ritual. They adapt to everything. Farmland, cities, mountain ridges. You'll see them perched on telephone poles along highways, watching traffic like hunters of a modern world. They've learned our rhythm without losing their own. So here's the question. When the world changes around you, do you fight it or rise above it? Because the red-tailed hawk doesn't fear the new horizon. It glides straight into it. And that cry, that piercing, cinematic sound, isn't just a voice of the wild. It's a reminder that freedom isn't noise. It's the courage to stay untamed. You think silence is empty? Then you've never heard a barn owl hunt. It doesn't flap. It glides. No sound, no warning, just the faint shimmer of white wings crossing the moonlight. It moves like smoke through air, invisible until the moment it strikes. Its face, that perfect heart shape, is nature's satellite dish. Every curve funnels sound straight to its ears, so precise it can hear a mouse breathe beneath the grass. It doesn't see in the dark. It listens in it. For centuries, people feared it. White wings in the dark, a scream like a soul unraveling. The owl became a ghost in every culture's folklore. But the truth? It's not death that follows the barn owl. It's balance. It keeps fields alive by hunting the creatures that eat the crops. The ghost, it turns out, is a guardian. Here's the twist. Barn owls mate for life. Their bond is quiet, tender. They share food, calls, and the same roost for years. When one dies, the survivor often returns to the empty barn, calling softly into the dark. It's the kind of grief that doesn't need words to be understood. Fun fact, their feathers are engineered for silence. Each barb frays into tiny hairs that absorb turbulence, turning flight into absolute hush. It's not just beauty, it's evolution's masterpiece of stealth. And yet, for all that perfection, their greatest threat isn't predators, it's us. Old barns are replaced by metal, fields by pavement, and the ghosts lose their homes one by one. So here's the question. Would you rather be seen or remembered? Because the barn owl doesn't need applause. It doesn't seek the spotlight. It moves through the night like a whisper of everything we've forgotten. That silence isn't emptiness. It's excellence without noise. You think the night is quiet? That's only because the great horned owl lets it be. This is the ruler of the dark skies. Broad wings, golden eyes, and those iconic horns that aren't horns at all, but feathers raised like a crown. It doesn't fly, it appears. One moment, the air is still. The next, a shadow passes, and something primal stirs in you. Its call, hoo, 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 is the soundtrack of wilderness. Slow, rhythmic, ancient. A heartbeat echoing through canyons and suburbs alike. Here's the twist. This predator is more versatile than almost any bird alive. It hunts rabbits, snakes, skunks, even other owls. If it moves, the great horned owl has probably tried to eat it. It's the apex hunter of the night, wearing silence like armor. But don't confuse brutality with chaos. Everything it does has purpose. When it locks eyes on prey, it commits. No hesitation, no mercy, no waste. In a world built on fear, this owl is proof that power doesn't apologize. Fun fact, its grip strength is equivalent to crushing a bone with 300 pounds of pressure, enough to break its prey's spine in an instant, yet delicate enough to cradle its chicks. That's balance, death and tenderness, housed in the same heartbeat. It mates for life, returning to the same territory year after year. The same branch, the same call. For all its power, it still chooses devotion. But its real mystery, it thrives everywhere, from redwood forests to city parks, from deserts to coastlines. No matter where humans go, the great horned owl follows, watching, adapting, enduring. So here's your question. Would you rather be loved or respected? Because this bird doesn't need affection. It commands reverence. The forest doesn't just listen to it, it obeys. The great horned owl isn't just a creature of the night. It is the night, quiet, eternal, and impossible to ignore. You think humans are the smartest ones around? Spend 5 minutes with an American crow. You might start doubting that. These black-feathered tricksters are California's unofficial city philosophers. They don't just survive among us, they study us. Watch long enough and you'll notice it. They recognize faces, understand traffic lights, and use passing cars to crack nuts. That's not instinct, that's strategy. Crows remember who's kind and who's cruel. Feed one and it might bring you gifts. Shiny stones, bottle caps, bits of glass, tokens of trust. Bother one and it'll remember your face for years and tell its friends. Yes, they gossip, in crow language. That's community with receipts. Here's the twist. Despite their reputation for being noisy scavengers, crows are builders of balance. They clean up roadkill, scatter seeds, and control pests. Nature's unglamorous custodians. While other birds play heroes, the crow gets its wings dirty and still gets the job done. Fun fact, researchers discovered that crow intelligence rivals that of a 7-year-old child. They use tools, plan ahead, even understand basic physics. Some scientists believe they dream. Imagine that, a mind with feathers. But maybe what makes them most human is their morality. They mourn their dead. When a crow dies, others gather silently, watching, not feeding, not flying, as if holding vigil. Then they remember the danger that caused it, learning through grief. So here's the question. If wisdom comes from experience, how much smarter would you be if you actually paid attention? Because the American crow doesn't just live in California, it thrives on our chaos. It learns, it laughs, it adapts. And maybe in a city full of people pretending to be busy, it's the crow who truly understands how to survive. You think intelligence belongs to the city? Then listen to the mountains. They've had their own genius for centuries. The common raven doesn't live in crowds or chaos. It lives where silence still has weight, on cliffs, deserts, redwoods, and the lonely edges of the Sierra. You don't find a raven, it finds you. Bigger than a crow, heavier, deeper voiced. It speaks in a rolling croak that sounds like the earth clearing its throat. It doesn't chatter, it comments. Every sound feels deliberate, as if it's judging the world and finding it amusing. Here's the twist. Ravens aren't just smart, they're emotionally complex. They play. They tease wolves by pulling their tails, roll in the snow for fun, and hide food just to mislead other ravens watching. That's not instinct. That's mischief with a plan. Fun fact, indigenous stories across North America call the raven a creator, a trickster, or a messenger of transformation. One legend says it brought light to the world, stole it from the gods and set it free. And maybe that's exactly what it does, steal darkness and turn it into understanding. Scientists now know ravens can solve puzzles, recognize themselves in mirrors, and even show empathy. They mourn, they joke, they think. And sometimes when one flies overhead, alone against the setting sun, it feels like a thought escaping gravity. But ravens have something intelligence can't measure. Perspective. They don't conquer the world. They observe it. From the bones of mountains, from the heat of deserts, from the edge of everything. So here's the question. Would you rather live loudly in a crowd or quietly above it all? Because the common raven doesn't seek approval. It's the philosopher of the wild. Equal parts chaos and clarity. And maybe that deep croak echoing across the canyon isn't just sound. It's the universe laughing at how little we truly know. You think the forest is quiet? Not while the Steller's jay is awake. This bird doesn't sing. It heckles. It squawks, mimics, mocks, and interrupts everyone else's morning, like it's the woodland comedian no one can mute. And honestly, the forest needs it. Draped in deep indigo and black, the Steller's jay looks like it was dipped in twilight. That spiky crest, part punk rock, part crown, says everything about its attitude. It's bold, curious, and absolutely unbothered by your personal space. If you're camping, expect a visit. It'll steal your crumbs, inspect your backpack, and then yell at you for being in its territory. Here's the twist. Beneath that chaos is genius. Steller's jays cache thousands of seeds and nuts each year, hiding them across the forest. The ones they forget to eat, they grow into trees. So while it's busy being loud and nosy, it's also replanting the woods. Talk about productive rebellion. Fun fact, they can mimic the calls of hawks so accurately that other birds dive for cover. It's bluffing, weaponized, nature's version of sarcasm. But this blue troublemaker has a softer side too. Mates call to each other softly, share food, and build nests together in secret corners of the canopy. When you see two of them sitting close, feathers touching, it's hard not to smile. Even rebels need connection. And that's what makes the Steller's jay pure California. Colorful, loud, smart, unpredictable. A voice that refuses to blend in. It doesn't hide in the shadows of the redwoods. It announces them. So here's the question. In a world that tells you to be quiet and fit in, do you dare make some noise? Because the Steller's jay doesn't apologize for being itself. It squawks, it shines, it stirs the silence, and in doing so, it keeps the forest alive. You think the forest music comes only from songbirds? Then you haven't heard the drummer, the northern flicker. While other woodpeckers hammer for food, this one plays for rhythm. Its beat rolls through the trees, tat, 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 tat. A sound older than any human melody. It's not noise, it's communication. Flickers drum to mark territory, attract mates, or just say, I'm here. Every hollow tree becomes a stage, every branch an instrument. And visually, it's a masterpiece. Soft brown body dotted with black, bright red slash on its face, and a burst of gold under its wings. Flashes like sunlight when it flies. Even the forest seems to pause when it takes off, as if watching a brushstroke come to life. Here's the twist. Most woodpeckers cling to trees, but the flicker prefers the ground. It struts through grass like a little spotted dancer, digging for ants with its curved beak. Not typical, not obedient, just its own kind of wild. Fun fact, its tongue can extend 2 inches past its beak. Perfect for scooping insects. When retracted, it wraps around its skull. That's right, its tongue literally hugs its brain. Evolution, meet creativity. Flickers mate for life, returning to the same trees each spring to carve new homes together. They dig with precision, hollowing out the perfect oval door. The forest's version of custom architecture. But there's more to it than craft. Each drumbeat, each flash of yellow or red feels intentional, as if it's painting the forest with rhythm and color at once. So here's the question. If your voice could echo through the woods, what would you choose to say? Noise or art? Because the northern flicker already decided. It drums not just to live, but to create. It turns survival into symphony, and the quiet woods into a gallery of sound. You think confidence comes from size? Then you've never met the red-breasted nuthatch, the tiniest daredevil in the forest. Barely 4 inches long, it zips up and down tree trunks like a caffeine-powered acrobat, often upside down, because why not? It's the only bird in California that climbs down trees headfirst, as if gravity is just a suggestion. Its chest glows a warm orange red, set against steel blue wings and a bold black mask that makes it look like a miniature superhero. And honestly, it acts like one too. Here's the twist. The nuthatch has a voice that sounds like a tiny tin trumpet. It calls with a sharp nasal yank, 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 often while hanging upside down, as if bragging mid-workout. Other birds see a branch. It sees a playground. Fun fact, nuthatches use tree resin as home security. Before nesting, they smear sticky sap around their entrance hole to keep predators and parasites out. A doorbell made of chemistry, nature's original DIY alarm system. They're also surprisingly brave. When hawks or owls pass overhead, these little climbers freeze flat against the bark, perfectly still, blending into the tree like a heartbeat in hiding. Then when the danger's gone, they pop back up and start chirping again. Same energy, no fear. What's wild is their partnership. During winter, nuthatches often join mixed flocks of chickadees and kinglets, because survival, like comedy, is better with an audience. They feed, warn, and travel together, each species playing a role in the daily drama of the woods. But despite all that social life, the nuthatch never loses its individuality. It climbs its own way, sings its own tune, and always, always faces challenges head on. So here's the question. When life turns you upside down, do you freeze or climb anyway? Because the red-breasted nuthatch doesn't worry about how small it is. It just keeps going, bold, busy, and completely unapologetic. Proof that in California's wild orchestra, even the smallest note can still play loud. You think predators need noise to be feared? The northern harrier hunts by silence alone. Low over the marshlands it glides, a pale shadow skimming the golden grass, face fixed forward, eyes scanning every ripple of wind. Its wings stretch wide and soft, barely touching the air. It doesn't chase, it floats, a ghost with feathers. Unlike other hawks that dive from above, the harrier flies close to the earth, listening for mice beneath the reeds. That strange owl-like face? It's not just beautiful, it's a radar dish. The facial disc funnel sounds straight to its ears, letting it hear its prey before it ever sees it. Here's the twist. The northern harrier is one of the few raptors where the female rules the territory. She's larger, darker, and far more dominant. The male, sleek and pale gray, drifts above like smoke, often feeding several mates and their chicks. Call it chaos or call it efficiency. Nature doesn't care what we think of her balance. Fun fact, in the early 1900s, people called this bird the marsh hawk and believed its presence meant good luck for farmers. Fewer rodents, more harvest. Today, shrinking wetlands have turned that luck into rarity. Each field drained as another silence in the sky. Still, the harrier endures. You'll see her at sunset, wings tilted, tail fanned, hovering like a thought that refuses to fade. The wind seems to bend around her. Even the reeds go quiet. So here's the question. If survival meant moving without sound, no drama, no applause, could you do it? Because the northern harrier doesn't need to roar. It hunts by grace. It wins by stillness. And maybe that's the purest kind of power, the kind you never have to announce. You think silence has no sound? Then you've never listened to a mourning dove at dusk. Its call, low, trembling, and endless, feels less like a song and more like a sigh from the sky itself. It doesn't demand your attention, it finds it. Some call it sad, but maybe it's just honest. Soft gray feathers, a black crescent on the neck, eyes like drops of calm. The mourning dove is simplicity perfected. No flash, no fire, no drama, just presence. It perches on telephone wires, fence posts, desert branches, the most ordinary places in the world, and somehow turns them sacred. Because when this bird speaks, everything else seems to pause. Here's the twist. Its name comes from that mournful call, but its life is full of devotion. Mourning doves mate for life. They raise chicks together, feed each other, even mourn their partners when one is lost. Theirs is a love story written in whispers. Fun fact, despite their gentleness, they're among the most widespread and resilient birds in North America, from city sidewalks to mountain meadows. Wherever peace can exist, they find it. Where it can't, they bring it. Watch one glide at sunset, wings slicing through golden air. You'll notice something rare. There's no effort, no showmanship, just balance. It's as if the wind itself has agreed to carry them home. And maybe that's why they've been with us forever. In art, in prayer, in memory. The dove doesn't fight to be noticed. It just reminds us of what the world could sound like if we finally stop shouting. So here's your final question. When the noise fades and the sky grows quiet, what's your peace going to sound like? Because the mourning dove already knows. It's been singing it all along. softly, patiently, waiting for us to listen. So, was California really hiding them? Or were we just too busy to notice? From the tiny chickadee to the mighty red-tailed hawk, from the laughing kingfisher to the ghostly barn owl, every wing, every call, every heartbeat in this state is a reminder. Beauty doesn't announce itself. It waits, patient, perfect, and alive, for someone willing to look. These 20 birds aren't just part of California. They are California. Color and chaos, mountains and cities, silence and song. They thrive in deserts, redwoods, farmlands, freeways. All proof that wildness doesn't vanish. It adapts, it endures, it still flies right above us. So maybe the question was never, is California hiding them? Maybe the real question is, when was the last time you looked up? Because the sky hasn't changed. The birds are still here. And if you listen closely enough, you might realize they were never hiding at all. We were.